This is a daily mobility routine that we recommend people do on a daily basis to keep their joints supple, healthy, and flexible. The first mobility routine is called Spinal Segmentation 10s, and as you can see, I've just taken myself into full spinal flexion, and I'm now moving my head up and down, trying to get as much movement into the vertebrae of my neck. While this is going on, I'm squeezing my hands into the ground, driving my feet into the ground, and tensing my abs. Next, I'm going to reverse the movement, so my tailbone is going to come back out, but the rest of my body, including my neck, is staying exactly where it is. Again, I'm going to do this 5 times one way and 5 times the other, which is why we call it Spinal Segmentation 10s. I'm going to slowly reverse into the opposite position here, so I'm now into full spinal extension. I move myself into spinal extension nice and slow and with control, and when I've maxed out that position, I begin to repeat the process that we did in extension. So my cervical spine is moving flexion and extension for a total of 10 times. Again, I'm making good contraction through my abs, my feet into the ground and my hands into the floor. Keeping my neck up in extension now, I'm just going to move my lumbar spine and try to get as much movement as I can into this area of my body. Now we're moving on to hip cars. So what I'm going to do is stabilize my lower back, bring my hip up, rotate it out to the side, bring that knee up towards my elbow, slowly in towards my other foot before repeating the movement the opposite way. So foot out, bringing it back behind my body, slowly rotating my femur and then bringing my knee up towards my elbow. I'm going to repeat this movement 3 times each way on each side. As I'm doing this, I'm trying to stay as steady as possible with my upper body as well as with my lower back. So I'm trying not to let my lower back move too much into extension or into flexion. The most difficult part of that is when you're bringing your leg behind you. Again, my elbows are locked out. I'm driving my left knee into the ground and I'm squeezing my left bum cheek as hard as I can. Swapping over for the camera. Going to go through the same process. Going to go into extension, rotation, flexion, abduction, abduction, extension, rotation, and flexion. The whole time, I'm breathing normally, abs are tight, my right foot is now squeezing into the ground, and both my hands are squeezing into the ground. I'm trying to just drive the movement from the hip and the hip only. Now we're going into shoulder cars, so I'm taking my shoulder joint through a full range of motion, nice and slow and with full control. We do 3 each way, each side for all of these exercises. So I'm bringing my shoulder up into flexion as much as I can. Now I'm opening it out and rotating at the joint. When I've maxed out that rotation, I'm going to bend at the elbow, touch my hand lightly off my lower back, bring it back out, rotate back out, and then finish reverse flexion. So flexion, bring the hand out and start the rotation. Rotate nice and smooth with control. Once you've maxed it out, hand in to touch the back, hand back out, rotate back out, hand up above you, and reverse the flexion. Swapping around to show the other side. Again, I'm tight in the abs. My left hand is squeezing into the ground. Both my feet are driving into the ground as well. I'm trying to create a decent amount of tension and just focus the movement purely on that shoulder joint. So I'm going flexion, opening out, going into rotation. When I've maxed that rotation, hand is going to come in, touch the back, elbow straightens, reverse the rotation, and then reverse the flexion. going to come on to neck cars. So I'm putting one foot out in front of the other. I'm pulling my heel towards my knee, and with the left leg I'm driving my foot into the ground. The movement is going to be a full circle split up into different segments, which I'll talk you through on the next rotation. Again, with this one, it's going to be 3 each way each side. So we're in neutral position. Head is going to come down to the chest. I'm going to slide it across to the left, look over my left shoulder, drop my ear to my left shoulder, slide it back over to the right, look over the right shoulder, drop my ear to the right shoulder, and look down. So looking down, slide, look, listen, slide, look, listen, slide, neutral. So look down, slide, look, listen, slide, look, listen, slide, back to neutral. There should be no pain on the closing side of the joint. So that's when we get here now. This is the side where my ear is going to come towards my shoulder. You should never get pain on the closing side. You should feel a nice stretch on the open side, which is the opposite side. If you are getting pain on the closing side of a joint, just ease off that range of motion. So come a little bit out, don't go as deep into the stretch, and build that up slowly until you can tolerate that load. Next, I'm going into wrist cars, fingers together. Shine a light out in front, shine the light up towards the ceiling, back out in front, fingers together, light up front. It's a nice circle. You're trying to keep your elbows locked to your body and act as if that you've got a light on the front of your palm. So I'm going to shine the light down, in towards itself, back up towards your biceps, in towards itself, out towards the front, back up towards your biceps. And you're repeating that 3 ways each side. Next, we are moving on to the ankle joint. So these are known as ankle cars. What I'm doing here is I'm holding my leg nice and tight in so that I'm driving the movement purely from my ankle and not letting the rotation of my lower leg come into play. We're going to do a full circle, so we're going to bring our big toe across as far to the side, squeeze our toes as we push down, bring the foot around to the side, splay our toes as we come up, and repeat. On this way, I'm doing a full circle one side before swapping and repeating the circle the other way. Again, with all of these, it's 3 each way on each side. On the opposite foot, I'm going to do 3 one way and then follow that with 3 the other way. So the movement is bringing your foot down towards the ground, squeezing your toes, bringing it across, up towards your shins, splaying your toes, squeezing your toes down towards the ground, across towards midline, up towards your shins, across away from you, splay your toes, squeeze your toes towards midline, splay your toes up towards your shins, and repeat. Performing a daily mobility routine like this will ensure that the joints that we use, so our ankles, our hips, our wrists, our shoulder, our spine and our neck, get their full movement for the day. So regardless of what you want to do that day, you've taken your joints through their full range of motion, which in the long run will keep them healthy, happy and supple.